the day the peace died. For 3,000 years, humanity had known only peace. Since joining the Galactic Concord, Earth had become a shining jewel of diplomacy, a place where trade agreements were signed over coffee, where disputes were solved in courtrooms instead of battlefields, where the last human warship was a museum piece floating over Luna. Generations grew up believing that war was a barbaric relic of history. The very idea of an armed invasion was the stuff of school plays and old holodramas. That illusion shattered in less than 10 minutes. It began on a quiet Terran morning. The orbital cultural exchange station Aurora's Gate drifted in the L4 point, hosting the annual Children of the Stars Summit, a gathering of young students from across the Concord, meant to inspire friendship and unity. 32 human children attended, along with dozens from other worlds. At 9:12 Earth Standard, the station's automated defenses detected an incoming hyperspace signature. Normally, such arrivals were pre-cleared weeks in advance. This one wasn't. The Virex Eternal, an Imperial battlecruiser, emerged from the jump with weapons hot. Its hull shimmered with the crimson crest of the Galactic Empire, a sovereign member of the Concord, bound by the same treaties that forbade hostile action. Yet, without a word, its fighter bays opened. Metallic figures dropped onto the station like falling stars. Armored soldiers in black exo-frames moved with machine precision, teal visors reflecting the terrified faces around them. They carried rifles the size of a child, each step echoing in the Aurora's Gate's gleaming corridors. The station's AI tried to activate security fields. The first breach squad shot out the emitters before the command completed. Witnesses said it happened too fast to understand. The soldiers marched straight to the central auditorium where the children rehearsed a multilingual choir performance. No one fired on them. No one dared. Peace had made the Concord citizens unaccustomed to violence. The lead soldier spoke, voice deep and metallic. By order of His Radiance, these subjects are remanded into Imperial care for re-education. Teachers screamed, parents watching via HoloLink shouted, but the soldiers moved with cold inevitability. Small hands were yanked, tiny wrists bound in magnetic cuffs. A young boy named Aaron Levesque shouted, "Let go of my sister." The soldier turned its visor toward him. Compliance will ensure survival. They herded the children toward the docking bay. Not a single shot was fired. By 9:22, the strike team was gone, the Virex Eternal pulling back into hyperspace, leaving only silence and the drifting, powerless station behind. On Earth, the news feeds exploded. Footage leaked from the station's internal cams. The moment the soldiers entered, the children kneeling in confusion, the blue glow of the portal swallowing them. The Galactic Concord convened an emergency assembly. Representatives from hundreds of worlds filled the vast chamber of the Concord spire. The human delegation stood pale and stiff, waiting for the ruling. When it came, it was a knife in the back. The Council urges humanity to exercise restraint and seek peaceful resolution through diplomatic channels. Restraint. The word landed like an insult. Admiral Emeritus Takiro, the last living commander from humanity's pre-Concord fleet, slammed his cane into the floor. Restraint is what we showed for 3,000 years. And for our patience, they took our children. Other Concord species murmured about avoiding escalation and not setting dangerous precedents. None offered troops. None offered a deadline for the Empire's compliance. The Empire itself issued only a short broadcast. The human juveniles will be integrated into Imperial culture for their betterment. Opposition will be met with force. The next day, Earth Council of Nations met in Unity Hall. Heads of state, military historians, scientists, and family representatives filled the chamber. The air carried a charge it hadn't held in millennia. President Alina Serrano stood at the podium, voice trembling, not with fear, but with fury. We joined the Concord to ensure our children would never know the sound of gunfire. Yesterday, the Empire reminded us that safety bought by others' mercy is not safety at all. We're no longer safe. A murmur ran through the delegates. The historian Dr. Coran Vele, frail and silver-haired, rose slowly. 3 millennia of peace have softened us. We dismantled our fleets. We let our soldiers grow old and fade. We taught our children that war was impossible. But war has found us again. Silence. Then he looked each leader in the eye. We will remember what we once were. We will remind the galaxy what we can be. The Concord Treaty is broken, not by us but by them. I say we break it in truth. The vote was swift, unanimous. The Concord Charter that had bound humanity's hands for 30 centuries was formally renounced. The declaration was broadcast to every inhabited system in the Concord. The Galactic Empire has committed an act of war against the people of Earth. We will retrieve our children. We will see justice done. In that moment, humanity's long sleep ended. For 3,000 years, the galaxy had known humans as diplomats, explorers, and healers. By the time this war ended, they would know them by a different name, one whispered in fear by empires past. Warborn, forging the war machine. The declaration of war was the spark. The transformation that followed was the fire. Within hours of the Council's vote, orders rippled across the solar system. Shipyards, idle for centuries, lit up with construction lights. Civilian freighters were recalled, orbital factories retooled, asteroid mining rigs diverted to supply raw materials for armor plating. The quiet hum of peaceful commerce gave way to the roar of industry. Project Revenant was born, the codename for humanity's first war fleet in 3 millennia. The defense archives, untouched for generations, were opened. Massive databanks of ancient battle doctrine, from orbital drop assaults to fleet encirclement tactics, were downloaded into military AI systems. In Luna's Mare Imbrium shipworks, engineers walked the hulls of ships not seen since the old wars, black hull destroyers, carrier frames, and stealth corvettes. They had been mothballed for history. Now they would be reborn. On Earth, the military academies reopened their war rooms. Generals studied tactics from every age: trench warfare, guerrilla insurgency, cybernetic sabotage. The idea was simple: build a force that no enemy could predict because it would be everything at once. For the first time in Concord memory, human recruitment centers overflowed. They came from every colony: Mars terraformers, Jovian miners, Venusian atmospheric pilots, even scientists and medics who had never fired a weapon. Among them was Captain Aisha Vale, a former deep space rescue pilot whose niece, Leora, had been among the abducted. She stood in line with other volunteers, her file in hand, eyes like steel. The recruiter scanned her history. Flight hours off the charts, no combat record. Vale's voice was flat. I'll learn fast. You bring my niece home, or I do it myself. She was in. On Titan's orbital shipyard, Admiral Rain Core oversaw the first of the new fleet, the TNS Vengeance. He was a tall, broad-shouldered man with the calm intensity of a strategist who could already see the war's endgame. Standing beside the ship's unfinished hull, he addressed his staff. The Empire thinks time is on their side. They believe we're too slow, too civilized, too soft to respond. In 6 months, they will see a fleet on their borders. In 12, they will see their ships burning. One officer hesitated. Sir, in 12 months, can we truly match an empire that's been at war for centuries? Core didn't smile. We don't need centuries of experience. We have one advantage they can't manufacture: rage. The first wave of training began on the Martian steppes. Massive domed simulators projected hostile environments, alien cities, asteroid tunnels, zero-G boarding scenarios. Volunteers were drilled in combined arms tactics, taught to pilot exosuits, and trained to operate in total darkness. Human combat AI, dormant for centuries, was reactivated. Codenamed Spectre, it became the silent instructor in every trainee's ear, adapting strategies to each recruit's strengths and weaknesses. Vale's squad learned to breach doors with shaped charges, clear rooms in 6 seconds, and disappear before reinforcements arrived. The pace was brutal. Recruits collapsed in exhaustion daily. Nobody quit. Outside the official channels, alliances were forming in the shadows. Several Concord species, too afraid to openly defy the Empire, sent discreet aid. Shield generator blueprints from the Valari. High-yield plasma coils from the Torwin. Rumors whispered that even the mysterious K-Chwarar syndicate, known for their stealth tech, had sent cloaked advisors to human shipyards. The Concord assembly looked the other way, pretending not to see the freight convoys quietly docking with Earth's orbital ports. 6 months after the abductions, the solar system was unrecognizable. The TNS Vengeance slid from its dry dock, a predator's silhouette against the stars. Angular, matte black, armed with rail batteries and missile pods capable of shredding capital ships. Around it, smaller vessels formed a swarm. Corvettes with stealth plating, missile frigates bristling with torpedo bays, and assault carriers designed for planetary drop operations. Humanity had gone from unarmed to lethal in record time. In the Council War Room, Admiral Kor and his staff gathered over a holographic projection of Imperial space. Red markers indicated shipyards, supply hubs, and slave processing centers. Kor pointed to 3 systems deep in the Empire's outer rim. We will not strike their capital first. We bleed them from the edges. We cut their logistics, shatter their confidence, and make them wonder where we'll hit next. By the time they realize our full strength, we'll be at their gates. Captain Vale studied the map. And the children? Kor's gaze hardened. Our intelligence points to a deep space detention complex. We'll get them, but not yet. First, we make the Empire afraid to move them. That night, Vale sat in her quarters aboard the Vengeance, staring at a hollow of her niece. The girl's smile was wide, missing a front tooth. "Hold on, Leora," she whispered. "I'm coming." Outside her viewport, the fleet was assembling, ship after ship joining formation, their drives glowing like distant embers. Somewhere beyond those stars, the Empire believed humanity still remembered only how to talk. They were about to learn otherwise. By the time the last warship joined the Armada, one truth had taken root among every soldier, engineer, and pilot. This was no longer just a rescue mission. This was a reckoning. The fires of vengeance. The first attack came without warning. In the dead of Imperial night, a dozen human stealth corvettes ghosted out of the black, slipping past long-range sensors as if they were shadows. Their target, Jarex Prime, a major Imperial shipyard on the fringe of contested space. The defenders never saw them coming. Rail slugs punched through dry dock scaffolds, sending molten metal and shattered warship frames tumbling into orbit. Missile salvos bloomed in silent fire across the void. In 11 minutes, Jarex Prime was gone. 3 decades of Imperial naval production reduced to drifting wreckage. Admiral Kor's voice came over the encrypted fleet-wide channel. "Let this be the first lesson. You took our children. We will take everything you built to keep them." The Empire's response was swift and predictable. Fleet deployments surged toward the rim. But that was exactly what Kor had planned. While their warships scrambled toward Jarex Prime, the second strike hit Kavari Station, a critical supply hub. Assault carriers dropped out of FTL, disgorging exosuited Marines who tore through docking bays and cargo vaults. Every crate of fuel, every pallet of rations, every coil of spare parts, gone. The humans didn't hold the station. They didn't need to. They destroyed it and vanished before the Imperial fleet even reached the system. The galaxy watched in disbelief. For millennia, humanity had been the Concord's diplomats, explorers, and mediators. Now they were something else entirely. Unpredictable, precise, and utterly merciless. Concord news feeds ran footage of human Marines storming Imperial corridors, their matte black armor marked with a silver flame emblem. The feeds were always the same. Helmet cams showing soldiers moving with fluid coordination, pulse rifles spitting fire, enemy resistance crumbling in minutes. The message was unmistakable. Humans were back in the business of war, and they were very, very good at it. By the 3rd month of the campaign, the Empire's outer rim was in chaos. Pirate clans and dissident factions, emboldened by humanity's strikes, began their own raids. But for Captain Aisha Vale, the war was still personal. Intelligence intercepts confirmed that her niece, Leora, was alive, along with 31 other abducted children, in a detention complex hidden inside an asteroid belt in the Vorn Expanse. It wasn't an easy target. The asteroid facility was shielded by a rotating field of debris and guarded by a permanent garrison. Any approach risked detection and the immediate execution of the captives. Kor convened his senior staff in the TNS Vengeance's war room. The holographic asteroid spun slowly between them. "We go in with a ghost team," Kor said. "Stealth transport. Minimal signatures. Insertion on the shadow side. We breach, secure the captives, and vanish before their main fleet can respond." Vale stepped forward. "I want the lead. I know what's at stake." Kor studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Then you'll have it. But remember, the children's safety comes before vengeance." The infiltration began under the cover of a wider offensive. Across Imperial space, human fleets launched simultaneous feints, forcing the Empire to redeploy forces away from the Vorn Expanse. Vale's strike team, 12 Marines in adaptive camo armor, rode in a cloaked shuttle that drifted into the asteroid's shadow like a piece of debris. They cut their way through a maintenance hatch, slipping into the station's dimly lit corridors. Every corner was a risk. The air smelled of metal and ozone. Imperial guards patrolled in pairs, their visors scanning for intruders. Vale's squad moved like phantoms. Suppressed fire dropped guards without alarms. Doors were breached with silent plasma cutters. They found the children in a detention chamber, thin, pale, but alive. Leora was there, clutching the hand of a younger boy. Her eyes widened when she saw Vale. "Auntie." Vale knelt, pulling her close. "I told you I'd come." The moment was brief. The alarms came next, a wailing siren that meant only one thing. The Empire knew they were there. "Extraction point. Now," Vale barked. The Marines formed a protective shell around the children as they moved, firing in controlled bursts. Imperial troops poured in from every corridor, but the humans fought with brutal efficiency, cutting through blockades and sealing doors behind them. As they neared the shuttle bay, the facility's bulkheads began to rumble. The station was rigged to self-destruct, the Empire's last spiteful act. Vale keyed her comm. Vengeance were coming in hot. 10 seconds to launch. The shuttle blasted free from the asteroid as detonations rippled through the facility. Chunks of rock and twisted metal spun into space behind them. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Kor watched the shuttle dock, relief flickering across his otherwise stone face. "All units, mission success," Vale reported. 32 survivors. 0 left behind. That night, the rescued children slept in warm bunks aboard the Vengeance. Leora clung to Vale's hand until sleep took her. But in the quiet aftermath, Vale couldn't ignore the truth. This was only one victory in a much larger war. The Empire had lost a garrison and a facility, but they still held the power to strike back. Kor knew it too. Standing at the viewport, watching the stars drift by, he spoke softly. "The fire has started. Now we decide how far it spreads." The price of peace restored. The rescue of the 32 children ignited something deeper than vengeance. Across the Concord, species that had stayed silent now began to speak out. Protests erupted on Imperial client worlds. Smuggled vids of human Marines shielding the children went viral on every public channel. The Empire's propaganda machine struggled to keep up. Their carefully curated image of dominance was crumbling. But Admiral Kor knew the war wasn't won. "The Empire will never stop until it's broken at the root," he told the Council. "We've cut their edges. Now we take their heart." The target, Velis Prime, the Imperial capital. A fortress world ringed with shipyards, shield satellites, and fleets that had crushed rebellions for centuries. The plan was madness, which was why it would work. Operation Final Ember began with a coordinated feint. Human fleets struck 3 different sectors at once, forcing the Empire to scatter their defenses. While the enemy scrambled, the TNS Vengeance and the bulk of the human armada dove straight for Velis Prime. They arrived in system under heavy fire. Shield walls flared against rail slugs and plasma storms. The fleet moved in waves, carriers launching fighter swarms that darted through the chaos, destroyers pounding defense stations, stealth corvettes slipping between capital ships to gut their engines. Every maneuver had been rehearsed 100 times in the war rooms. Every captain knew their timing to the second. On the Vengeance's bridge, Kor stood with hands clasped behind his back, watching the Imperial lines falter. Keep the pressure. Their formations breaking. The turning point came when a squadron of human dropships punched through the upper atmosphere and deployed shock troops into the capital's defense grid. Ground fighting was brutal. Towering walker mechs clashed with human exosuits, the streets of Velis Prime's Jewel City erupting into fire and smoke. Captain Aisha Vale led the assault on the Imperial Palace itself. Every step forward was bought with blood, soldiers falling, explosives shattering fortified gates, defenders breaking under relentless advance. At the palace's grand entrance, Vale found herself face to face with the Imperial Guard, towering in crimson armor, their halberd blasters glowing. The clash was short, vicious, and final. When it ended, the palace door swung open to reveal the Emperor himself. He was smaller than the myths, thin, sharp-faced, his robes scorched from the fighting. 2 Marines shoved him to his knees. Vale's voice was ice. 3,000 years of peace, and you broke it to steal our children. What? The Emperor's lip curled. Because peace makes prey, and I take what I want. Kor's voice came over comms. Then you will see what it means when the prey bites back. Within hours, the Imperial capital was under complete human control. The Emperor was transported under guard to a Concord tribunal, where the families of the abducted children stood in the front rows. The trial was broadcast live to the galaxy. One by one, the children testified, not with bitterness, but with clarity. They spoke of being taken from their homes, of the fear in the cold metal corridors, of the human soldiers who came through fire and death to bring them home. The verdict was unanimous. The Empire was stripped of Concord membership, its fleets dismantled, its leadership sentenced. The age of Imperial dominance was over. On Earth, the children returned to a hero's welcome. Streets overflowed with cheering crowds. Banners hung from every building. Ships in orbit flashed their lights in salute. Vale stood beside her niece Leora on the Unity Hall steps, watching the joy ripple through the city. The girl squeezed her hand. You came for me. Vale knelt, smiling faintly. Always. Nearby, Admiral Kor spoke to the council in a quieter, more sober ceremony. The war was over, but the cost was etched in a long list of names inscribed on the black memorial wall. Marines, pilots, engineers, civilians. We broke the peace to save our children, Kor said. We cannot return to what we were before, but we can guard what we've built and never again allow the galaxy to mistake our mercy for weakness. The Concord Charter was amended in the war's aftermath. A new clause, proposed and written by human delegates, forbade any forced cultural assimilation or abduction of any member species under penalty of united military action. Every Concord ambassador knew the truth behind the polite legal language. Touch a child, and you will face humanity. Months later, on a quiet hill outside New Geneva, Kor visited the memorial wall. The war was history now, but the names gleamed in the morning light. He rested his hand on the cold metal. You kept the promise, he murmured. Their home. Behind him, the hum of starship engines filled the sky. A reminder that while the peace had been restored, humanity would never again dismantle its shields. The galaxy had seen what humans could do when provoked. And somewhere out among the stars, old empires whispered new warnings to their children. They are peaceful until you touch theirs.